never say fire in a crowded room, unless, of course, there really is one, or you have certain privileges like my guest today. I'm Andrea Oliver, and on this edition of Lakeland Now in View, we're going to be finding out why the fiery talk can sometimes be so very, very cool. I am so excited to have my friend Janel Vasallo, who's also a spokesperson, fire person, and someone that I have just greatly admired as our guest today on Lakeland Now in View. And Janelle, you happen to make talking about fire a cool thing. And it's because of all the wonderful things you've done since heading to that department in 2013. You shared with me a philosophy a while back, and you said you wanted the fire department to be accessible to the citizens who live in there. Talk to us about that.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I'm very excited that I get to represent the Lakeland Fire Department here today. I think that that's a very important part of what I do. I have to make the fire department accessible because when you call 911, you don't get to pick who provides that service. It is kind of a monopoly. You're going to get whoever shows up. And in Lakeland, we're the case. Mm-hmm. And so I want to make sure that our citizens here in Lakeland know the high quality of the fire department. They know how well their tax dollars are being used, how highly trained our people are, so that they can rest assured that although we only have one fire department, we have the best that we can have.
You started out as a school teacher. You graduated from the University of Central Florida, a degree in history and anthropology. And so naturally, I think it kind of led you into the classroom. But you had some other ideas, went and got a master's in public health, and eventually, as we know, got to Lakeland Fire Department. Tell me a little bit, Janelle, about when you talk about accessibility, what is it that you're hoping that the citizens will feel about being able to get the information they need from you guys at the fire department?
So everything you described there, my past has to do with people. Anthropology is the study of people. Public health is working with people. So I am very much a people person. And firefighters are very much people persons, I guess. So our firefighters, a lot of times they're put on pedestals, they're glorified as heroes, which they absolutely are. But my mission is to make them as accessible as possible by showing those human stories, letting you see what they're like at the station, how they live at the station, what they do in their own personal time to help the community, the fact that they live in the community, the fact that they do philanthropy here in the community, so that even though you may never call 911 and get a firefighter, and we hope you never do, because we don't want you to get someone on the worst day of your life there, but we want you to know that they're good, quality people.
You thought to make the department one where it was going to be multimedia. So most times we're accustomed to just getting information to us, or in the past, funneled to us in a particular way. But you thought, I'm going to use the internet, I'm going to use Twitter, I'm going to use all these resources available to me. And I think I have to step back and acquiesce that this thing has really worked. I remember fighting you a little bit in the beginning. I'm like, I want my news coming to me this way. But you stepped into and wanted a platform that was going to be able to reach everyone.
Well, I was keeping up with my time. So I knew as a young person when I got hired, I can't say that I'm a young person anymore, but as a young person that got hired, I knew that we had to make it accessible to all ages. And nowadays, to do that, you have to use social media. Yes. You have to use multimedia. The fact that we're sitting here talking on this wonderful show is proof of how powerful that is, because you went from not even wanting to use Twitter and media releases, and now you have your own web show. I mean, so it shows how much it works.
It does work. This has been, of course, an unusual year, and I'm sure that a number of the programs that you've done in the past, you've had to either abandon or possibly do quite differently. One of which,
so Truck or Treat was our biggest event. I'd say it was one of the bigger events sponsored by the city of Lakeland. It was a partnership between Lakeland Fire and Lakeland Police. And it was in its second year. And unfortunately, we had to cancel this year because of COVID. But we would typically have anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 people around Lake Mirror, children's families that were there to learn about fire safety and community safety, but enjoying some free candy, some toys, getting to crawl all over the fire trucks, getting to form those relationships that I referred to earlier with their public responders or public safety responders. But unfortunately, we couldn't do that this year. So we've had to just pretty much turn people to some web resources.
Well, you always talk about Fire Prevention Week, and I know that we just, under normal circumstance, we would have just had Fire Prevention Week. And another way, again, to bring those stories to people and have them come up in the truck and learn more about ways to prevent fire, ways to stay safe. But again, because of this year and COVID, you had to do that differently. It was maybe not too long ago. How did you address fire prevention?
So Fire Prevention Week actually kicked off this past Sunday, October 4th. So luckily, I'm here. This is a platform for me to encourage people to, follow fire safety tips, avoid, leaving cooking unattended in the kitchen, because this year's theme is all about kitchen fire safety, because that's the number one place that fires start. So we obviously couldn't do our big events. So we've offered some alternatives like virtual Q&As with firefighters from the station. And that's something that we're offering local school children and homeschool students. We're putting web resources out there so that hopefully teachers and parents, and maybe they're doing some homeschooling, can use those resources to teach their kids about fire safety. And we're really hoping that next year we can have a really fantastic, huge event.
Have you seen an increase in fire problems, fire issues, with kids being home, with families being home more this year than probably in the past?
That's really a good question, because we have. So we've seen a change in our response. And what we have seen is, unfortunately, there have been some incidents with children playing with matches because they were left alone at home. So we've had a few of those fires, which is a really good reminder as to never leave children unattended near matches or lighters. So yeah, we have seen a spike in that, and that's why it's really unfortunate that we can't have those in-person events, but we're hoping we can still, through teachers and parents, get to the kids.
I know that we're coming up on a time of year when there are going to be lots of, if not big parties, people are still, we're not willing to abandon the cooking and the turkey and the bacon.
Fried turkeys.
The fried turkey. And I know that has always been an issue. And then, of course, I found out in Florida that it doesn't have to be July 4th for us to send off some fireworks. So there are still some issues, possibly, as we move to the end of the year. Some of the things we've always talked about. So if you would address that again for us and what you're asking people to do, especially in this year.
So when it comes to the holidays, we see a huge spike in cooking fires, which is reasonable.
Some people need to stay out of the kitchen, period.
Yes,
The
grocery store Publix offers a great pre-made option. Cooking's not for everyone, but if you are going to cook, we really encourage you to watch what you're cooking, be extremely vigilant. And for instance, turkey, if you want to fry your turkey, we always put safety tips up on our website and our social media accounts, because we do tend to see a lot of fires go up because of that. Like never dunk a frozen bird into boiling hot oil.
The mark of an amateur.
Yes,
actually.
You'd be surprised. So it's just all about being extremely vigilant in the kitchen. And if maybe it's the first time you've ever cooked, ask for some help from someone that's done it before.
you talk about telling the stories, and I know over the years there have been some amazing stories. Your firefighters have assisted relief efforts in other areas during hurricane. They've been very actively involved, and I don't know that always we're privy to some of the things that they do. Any story that stand out in your mind that just heartwarming, touches you, that you'll never forget?
Well, we have, and I do have a specific example for you, but we have so many to pick from that I don't think I'll do it justice. So I'm going to go with something recent, but we really do have amazing firefighters that do a lot in their community. A recent one is we have a firefighter, Steven Zopp, who is running for Mr. Central Florida. And that's something that our firefighters do every year. It's something that our fire chief
benefits the speech and hearing center. Yes.
He feels passionate about philanthropy in the community. But this year is so unique because he has his little sister is completely deaf. And she had to have cochlear implants, and it was services like those provided by the Central Florida Speech and Hearing Center that allowed her to hear again.
Yes.
So that personal connection right there is why he's so passionate about it, and he's raised nearly $10,000 to help donate to them because of that connection and knowing that it's going to help other kids like that here in Lakeland. So that's just one small example of the many.
Something you said to me years ago, I don't even know if you remembered it. We were having a conversation and you said,
I don't sweat the small stuff. I just go about and do what I need to do and don't worry about too much what people have to say. And I want to know how much of that philosophy has really helped you as you continue to tell those great stories.
Well, you have to survive, particularly in communications, public relations. You can't stress about the small stuff because we're getting major things thrown on our laps daily. So luckily that philosophy has helped me quite a bit in what I do professionally, and it helps me really target in on what's important. Because at the fire department, they deal with everything.
Mm-hmm.
We as a department, from the biggest of the big to the smallest of the small, you're going to get us. So you have to know when to identify what's important, what's valuable, what's going to be most impactful. And I think a lot of that's just born in someone. You have that instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got that instinct, you will succeed in this profession. And if you don't, you may just transition into something else.
You clearly are, I believe, succeeding in this area. You have done, as we mentioned, a number of fabulous programs that have benefited the community, showcase your firefighters, one of which I would like to highlight because it's probably one of my favorite of the things that you do. And it's getting to showcase the beautiful people we call firefighters across the area. Every year you do a calendar, but it's not just showcasing how beautiful they are and the buff-toned bodies, which doesn't hurt to look at, but it also helps local SPCA. Tell us about that.
So we've had a very long relationship with SPCA Florida, and the way we have that relationship is we raise money for them by creating a firefighter calendar, the traditional firefighter calendar, skimpily dressed with a rescued dog or cat.
They are skimpily dressed.
Yeah. You were too busy looking at the puppies. That's why.
Yes.
So we've done that calendar to great success. But actually, this year we decided to transition to something new, which is our greeting cards. So we have holiday greeting cards this year that people can send their loved ones, family members. And just like the calendar, 100% of the proceeds go to SPCA Florida. And then they use that money to help their animals, their mission. But if we ever rescue an animal on a fire scene, we can take it to SPCA Florida and provide free medical care for that animal. And that's one less thing the family has to worry about. So it's just, we have a lot of those type of partnerships where we do something for a great organization in Lakeland, and in turn, it kind of helps our citizenry.
Like your boots in the ground. I know that you do that annually for another organization that benefits children. Tell us about that.
We do. That's part of we have a chili cook-off for different organizations. Last year was the PACE Center for Girls. We have a relationship with Central Florida Speech and Hearing Center, SPCA Florida, and I can go on and on. Just about every auction or event in Lakeland, you're going to see something from our department there.
That's great. Well, want to just say continue to do the amazing job that you're doing in our city. As I said, it's been an unusual year. I am trusting that come next year, if I know you, like I think I do, there are going to be some programs that you have to continue telling those great stories and to continue showcasing the fabulous work of the Lakeland Fire Department. Janel Vasallo, you are an up citizen. You are somebody we greatly admire in our community, and just want to thank you for being here and chatting with us on Lakeland Now in View. I just want to thank you for joining us. Another great show when next we meet. Stay tuned. I'm Andrea Oliver for Lakeland Now in View.